Well, hello and welcome to that beautiful part of the day where you sit and relax and just listen to in-depth discussions on matters that concern us. And well, since we are still in the month of March and women seem to have a lot of place in the month of March, Mother's Day, Women's Day, so we are still talking about women, but today we're looking at a different angle of women. It's an angle that, to be honest with you, I never thought of. We're looking at women's role in security. Really? Women's role in security? Yes, all aspects of security, whether conventional, traditional, but all aspects of security. And WANEP has indeed thought about it. And those of you who know WANEP, which is West Africa Network for Peace Building, are working on that. And today we're going to educate ourselves as to how much peace will be in the world if women are in that role, particularly our part of the world. Isn't that interesting? My name is Nana Sakwal the Fourth, and when I come back, I will introduce my guest and we'll start talking. So sit around and get ready to learn about women's role in security in achieving a gender balance by 50-50, or they say 2030, which is just around the corner, the move. Well, hello and thank you for staying with me in the studio. Sat right next to me is Bijou Berge, who is the Regional Programs Officer, Women in Peace Building Education. She's with WANEP. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I also have Quineth Tao, who is a Regional Coordinator, Communication and Capacity Building, also with WANEP. Quineth, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Quineth, I want to start with you. As soon as you say women in security, we just get all confused and mixed up. Our first thought is that, a woman going to be all in the army and have guns and, chasing armed robbers, bringing peace. I mean, when we say women in security, what are we talking about?
Thank you very much. You won't be wrong if you say, are women going to be in the army, in the military, chasing robbers? But that's not really what we're talking about when we talk about the women, peace and security agenda. What this means is, what is the role of women in the stability of our region, in ensuring the security of our region? What is the role of women? How do women ensure peace? How can we work with women to ensure peace and stability in this our region? The essence is that if we talk about security, it cannot be one-sided. It cannot be one gender that should be doing, that should contribute to promoting peace and security. Women have a critical role to play. Women have a big role to play. Because when you're talking about insecurity, who is insecure? All of us as citizens, we are insecure in one way or the other. But then when you narrow it down to conflict situations, for instance, so it has been proven over time, statistics have shown that women are the hardest hit in times of wars and conflict. That women are the ones that are dislocated from their place, they are forced into forced migration, they suffer sexual, gender-based violence in terms of war. So this population of people, this category of people that suffer this, that bear the brunt of this war, why are they not involved in finding the solution in security issues? Why are they not involved? So that is the essence of the women, peace and security, the involvement of women in the quest for lasting peace in our region.
Before I come to Bijou, and I'm reading from Strides and Strains of Civil Society Organization in West Africa. I'm reading on page 42, Women in Peace Building. And it says, the old practice of excluding women from decision-making processes, particularly in the public domain, is well known in West Africa and other parts of Africa. Moreover, women's roles in their voice and their voices as critical stakeholders in community peace building and conflict resolution informal initiative have been underutilized. This gender discrimination has largely been attributed to patriarchy, tradition, culture, and religion, which places less value on females and their roles than those of men's rights from birth. This has further been preserved and reinforced by wars and violence. One have discovered this reality and came to the conviction that for peace building to be effective, it must be all-inclusive and take into account the voices and contributions of women, who make up more than half of the population of the sub-region. Thus, until women are supported to occupy the space to promote peace and human security, sustainable peace and development will continue to elude the sub-region. However, women in the sub-region lack the skills, acquisition, training in conflict transformation formulated and designed specifically for them to contribute to the peace process. Bijou, don't you just want to stay home? Let's go and sort out the peace and come back and say, look, sweetheart, it's all fine. They've stopped fighting.
So, in other words, you are saying women go sort it out and come back home?
No, women stay home. We men go and sort out the fight and the conflict. And then we come back and say, well, you know, Bijou, it's all fine now. They are not fighting anymore. Leave them.
Of course, that is not the best. Experience has shown that. As a matter of fact, men are engineers of conflict and wars. But we have come to learn that as much as they engineer it, women must be part of the solution, because at the end of the day, women bear the brunt of that war, of that conflict, women and girls wherever they find themselves. When my colleague was talking, she talked about security. Security has evolved, and now we are talking about human security. And when we are talking about human security, we are talking about personal security, community security. A whole lot of things come into play when we are talking about the human security. And you cannot leave the woman out of it. Because if the man says, yes, we did it, we've gone to do it, we've come back, and we've gone to sort it, we've come back. It has been shown in many of the peace accords that we have seen that so long as women are not part of that discussion, when they go and they sign those accords and they come back, sometimes 2-3 days later, all the agreement have been violated. But again, experience has proven that when women are part of that discourse, of that discussion, of the agreement in the agreement, you will see that it has gone a very long way, because now women are involved in the implementation of what is in that peace agreement. Let's take Liberia, for instance. When the women were so much involved in 2003 here in the agreement, when they went back, they sat down and said, we are going to watch over the implementation of this. If it had not happened like that, if the women were not part of it, I'm sure it was going to take like a week or two, and then would have come back to step one again.
Apart from Liberia, are there other examples? Because maybe Liberia is an exception, and we are trying to make it the rule. Are there other countries where women took the forefront and indeed they thought, look, the peace is more lasting or understanding as the women are playing a role?
Cote d'Ivoire, for instance, in their, when they had the post-electoral violence, women were very much involved. And they wanted their voices to be heard. And even though they were not invited, they made their minds clear and they wanted their contribution to count. And they have learned from their sisters in Liberia. So learning from that, they saw that it was very important for them to have a say in what was happening in the various peace accords. There were a lot of them. There was one that was held even here in Ghana. They moved to Togo. They moved to several places. But the women said, even if you do not invite us, we'll stay behind the door and we will make the notes for you to know that whatever is happening in Cote d'Ivoire is having an effect on us, on our brothers, on our husbands, on our daughters, on our girls. So in order for you people to take it more seriously, listen to what we are saying. So that's one other example. In Burkina Faso, when they started talking, they said the women must not be part of it at the beginning. But the women said, okay, we are listening to what you are saying, but we will ensure that you implement whatever you are saying here. And they took the reconciliation, community reconciliation, very seriously in Burkina Faso. So you cannot take the women factor out of what when we are talking about resolution. We are talking about a lasting agreement. You cannot take the women factor out of it.
Queen, let me come to you, because since you know, a bit of media, then communication is your end. Now, in the sub-region, we have different levels of women. I mean, we have your women who can probably even run for president. And we have those who, you know, can barely even, you know, make a condo and sell kenke. And they're probably even in the majority. So when we are saying women should play a role in security, is it just going to be your class just leading this security, or those women to have a part to play? And what part will they play?
Okay, that's a very good question. Because the whole idea of women involvement, even in peace processes, started at the community level, at the grassroots level. Over time, history has shown that women have played very, very critical roles in terms of brokering peace in their communities. But as you also have read in the Wonder book, those roles have been very, very informal. You see that there are some communities in the part of the world that I come from. We have communities where we have women who are very influential. They are not educated. They are women leaders. But whenever there's trouble in that community, those women are called upon. What we are now saying is that if women have those informal skills, or if women have been playing those roles in the informal setting, what is inhibiting them from bringing that kind of role to the formal level? That is where the role of women is lacking or is very minimal. So it is not only the educated women, the community women, grassroots women, every woman has a part to play in this thing. But you see, one of the challenges that women also have, aside from the patriarchal issues that we have talked about, also the issue of capacity. Because the women, some of them at the community level, at the grassroots level, they have not been so empowered to the level of having to come out publicly to exhibit those skills. And it is not their fault. It is socialization process. Women have been socialized right from time to be seen and not heard. So from time, women in the community, even in the cities, that is the socialization process that has been keeping women down. And that is that socialization process that we are saying, okay, women should break out of that. So it goes even to the homes. For instance, these modern women like us here, we ask ourselves, if socialization has been a problem, how then can we socialize our children in this modern era so that they don't fall into the same trap that their mothers have fallen into? So from beginning, you socialize your daughter and your son that first of all, they are human beings. They are people. They are children.
Are you saying that there are no roles for
community women?
For gender as in men and women? Are there no roles apart from childbirth? There are no roles. Everything is universal. Because I mean, we are brought up to believe that, you know, there are roles, and
for men,
certain men, you know, men play certain roles, and women play certain. Are we saying that we should eradicate those roles?
No, but one thing you need to know is that gender role is not static, because in a community in some communities women might be yam farmers, in another community women cannot touch yam. So you cannot hold on to those roles and say this is the role that a woman must play. It changes. It is dynamic from different communities. And if it changes, it cannot then be the role that we have to follow. Why? Because there are what we call sex roles and there are gender roles. Sex roles, for instance, only women can give birth. Men cannot give birth. That is a sex role. But there is no law that says that only women can take care of children. So after giving birth, there is no law that says because you gave birth, you should be the one to take care of that child. Parenthood is a man and a woman. It is not a woman. So you cannot assign taking care of children to the woman only. No, it is a gender role. It is not a sex role. It is not her biological role because she's a woman. So naturally, she has to take care of children. No. So there are roles that you say we are not throwing away the roles, but what we want there to be to to be clear,
Let-
what
let-
are the
let-
biological
let me
rules?
push you on this role business.
Push me.
You know, like the baby could be in this room, the
Yes.
mother is in the next room,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you start milking, and then you realize, oh no, the child is hungry.
Yes.
The man would be drinking beer and would know that the child was even crying, let alone hungry. So I mean, it's just that naturally you have that nurturing thing. I mean, you may have the odd man who
Out.
is a bit motherly, but generally, you know, the woman is just naturally connected. Look, my breasts are hurting. The baby must be hungry. And true, you walk to the room and the baby needs the mother. I mean, does it not make you naturally a better nurturer than
I don't. You are talking about baby when the child is a baby, when the child is still sucking breast. Of course, a man cannot suckle a baby. But I'm talking about children generally. So, because aside from just suckling, it has been assigned to women that their role, their natural role, is to take care of children. And that's what I'm telling you, that no, it is a gender role. Because as a parent, you should also have sentiments towards your child. So you don't have to be a woman to be able to take care of your child. But because of our socialization process, right from time, our girls have been socialized to be mothers. We buy doll babies for them from children as a child. So from birth, they are cuddling babies. So they grow up, the only thing they think of is to cuddle babies. We don't buy doll babies for our boys. We don't buy guns for our girls. We don't buy football for our girls, except now that football, female football is also, you know, making money. So now we can buy football for our daughters so that they can become footballers and bring money for us. But aside from that, the socialization process from beginning, we don't even buy toy cars for our girls. Yes, women drive, but we buy toy cars for the men. So from time, the boys, they have not been socialized to be domesticated. They have not been socialized to care for babies. That is all they know. So they grow up like that. That is why it looks as if this is our natural role. So the woman is natural. When your body pinches you, your child is hungry. But I'm sure if a man spends time with the child also, when his body pinches him, he will know that his child is hungry.
let me just add and say that unfortunately the roles that a society assigns to women keeps women in the background. And the roles that are assigned to men keep the men at the forefront. So the women are not seen. They are always behind. And then they are given responsibilities that don't make them constructively contribute to what they are supposed to contribute to.
I see. So the major task then is in education to change this mindset that, listen, we are all equal. How much of a hurdle do we have ahead of us in that?
Well, when we started this journey in women, peace and security, we decided to start the education by building the capacity of women only, because we needed to build their capacity as women before we bring them to the forefront. But we have evolved in that role, in the strategy that we have been using. So it has become very important for us to even educate men concerning giving the same equal opportunity to men and women, because we have reached a stage where men are feeling threatened that we are talking only about women, we are sensitizing women only, we are building their capacity only. And there's this nagging fear that sometimes is overtly expressed that women are taking our place, but that is not it. So when we are talking about educating people, it's not only women, it's both men and women. So we all are on the same page to say, no, it is not that we are taking your place. All we are saying is the same opportunity, the same value that are given to opportunities for men should be given to women also, to play on the same level field. That is what we are talking about. So I remember when I went to Togo, women in the market, whose role is go to the market, get back home, and then take care of the family. When we were able to build their capacity, they saw that, we can actually contribute towards peace in the market. Because all the time when there are troubles in the market, they look for men to come and take care of the trouble. But when their capacity was built, these women were able to put themselves into peace groups and have been able to handle that. And when you build their capacity and then you sensitize them, it is very important. Number two, then we associated the local authority, the men. Then they started understanding how important it was for them to take into account what women are doing. Even though there are women whose role has been boxed up in the market, they have the capacity to add on to what the men are doing. So they all come together and make decisions together. So the sensitization is both ways. We need to educate. It's very, very important.
Let me stay with you, Bijou. When we say human security, how vast, or I mean, what are we talking about, human security?
You know, when we are talking about security, as I said at first, when the concept of security always had to do with thinking about the state and the security of the state. But we have moved beyond that. We have moved beyond that, and then we are talking about the personal security of people. If I wake up in the morning, somebody should be able to wake up in the morning and feel safe and go out and come back. And this is not the responsibility of the state alone, but it's the responsibility of everyone. Security, human security, is every person's responsibility. When we are talking about community security, we are not talking about only the state apparatus being present in that community and taking care of the security of the community. It's how the people in the community are able to go about their business daily and watching over each other. That's what is also under human security, which has evolved, which is very, very important. And you will see that when people understand security in that perspective, they become much more aware that they have a responsibility, they have a role to play concerning their safety, concerning the safety of those around them, concerning the safety of their neighbors. And it is not only the state's duty.
The need to educate your child, the need to, like, immunization, will it fall under this security thing, or that goes outside of it?
You just reminded me of something that happened recently when we were doing a project in the Sahel countries, when we were educating women, local women, about human security. And the question that was posed somewhere in a community in Burkina Faso called Go Home, Go Home. We asked, what do you understand by human security? And one of the women answered and said, human security is when you tell your child to take care of him or herself. And that was her understanding of human security. We were thinking they would have no idea at all, but they had an idea of it. So when we are talking about human security, it's when your child is free to move, go to school and come back without any harm happening to him or her. That's the child's personal security. And the child to be watching around him or her and probably seeing things that are not moving on well and talking about them. It is part of the human security we are talking about.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Okay, the little addition I want to say that anything that threatens your peace makes you insecure. So, for instance, the sickness of a child threatens the peace of a woman. So, the issue you were raising about immunization and things like that, those are very, very critical. It's very vital, because if children are not well, if there's disease, it threatens the peace of the woman and even threatens the relationship at home. So it is all part and parcel of the human security we're talking about.
Let me try my gender role thing again.
Okay.
Can we then split the security into two, where, you know, when the armed robbers, you know, armed rebels, you know, Tiger and Rambo, you know, brandishing their guns, that security will be left for men. And then when, like, cholera and children not going to school and teenage pregnancy, and I mean, the teenage pregnancy now, it's almost revolting. That security will be left for women, or you don't want that role too?
No, I don't think that is the way to look at it, because in terms of armed robbery or where there's epidemic, it's actually government problem to make the environment safe and secure. That is not the kind of security we are talking about.
No,
You know, whenever...
brokering peace.
Okay,
You know, like when in Liberia's case come, you know,
Yes,
the women
it was
were
war.
really, when the peace accord, you know, the women made sure. No, I'm trying to say that, you know, on that level, can we leave that to the men? And then on the daily issues, which indeed breed the top ones anyway, because the more illiterate they are, the more easier it is to be used. Give small money, give a gun, and then they are out there thinking, you know. So, you know, can the women take charge there more?
Like I say again, I don't think it is the case of you handle this aspect, let me handle this aspect. It is a collaborative approach. It is men and women working together to achieve peace. That's what it is all about. So, for instance, if there's a situation in a community and there is, let's say, a committee is set up to discuss the peace of that community, women should be part of that committee. That's what we are saying. So women should be part and parcel of that committee. Women should also be at the negotiation table. Women should be at the peace table. That's what we are saying. Because when you even talk about the armed robbery, don't forget that probably some of those women, the people committing the robbery could be their children, could be their son that is committing the robbery. Or they might know the people in the community that are doing that. So they have something to bring on that table. Maybe they could come to the table and say, okay, you know why our sons are stealing? It's because they are unemployed. It's because they are not educated. It's because, you know, they don't have, life is difficult for them.
As for that table, left me alone, I want only women to be there.
No, it can't be. You know, it can't be like that.
But you know, you have to be only there.
No, women cannot, because men are our allies.
No, when it comes to like children not going to kindergarten, nursery, immunization, you know, women giving birth to 10 and 12, and they don't even have food for themselves, let alone. I mean, as for that table, that peace table there, I'm giving it all to women. I don't even want to be there. But and I think you probably do a better job there. I think women would understand. I mean, if a woman was telling another woman that, look, slow down or take your child to the clinic, I don't know. I feel it will go down better than a man, you know.
You know what you are doing? You are still assigning rules.
Rules, yes.
That's what you are doing. And you are giving what I would call the soft part, what you think, that we are able to appeal to the emotions of people. So you are boxing us there. Then you guys can take the macho part of it and then take care of the wars. And that's exactly what has been happening. So you are putting it into another way nicely now.
That's exactly
we want to be.
That's exactly what we are trying to.
We actually want to be both. And it should be
the old practice of excluding women from decision making.
Exactly. We want to be 50-50. We don't want all women affair. Then we'll end up being like all men's affair. Then we wouldn't have acted any differently from what we are standing against. All we want is let it be 50-50 and let's all do it together. Then we can have excellent results.
And because you see, when we talk of equality, people tend to misunderstand the concept of equality. They think it is equal strength, for instance. You know, you hear talks like, okay, you are a woman, like as you have said, can you come out when there's a robbery operation? That is not the kind of equality we have said. Biologically, men and women cannot be the same because there's a he and there's a she. So we cannot be the same. But the equality we are talking about is equal opportunities. Equal opportunities, equal pay for equal job done. So that is what, so people most of the time, they focus on the practical, on the physical aspect of equality. And then they say things like, oh, as for women, you give them an inch, they want a mile. If a woman is this, she starts disrespecting you. That's not the kind of equality. We can't be two men in the house. Because I'm a woman, you are a man. We have our roles. But what I'm saying is that if there's an opportunity and we are looking for a qualified person, if I'm qualified and you are qualified, we should have equal opportunity to be able to access that. That is the equality we're talking about. So this misconception is what has actually made people to, whenever they hear gender, oh, these women again, oh, these women again. And that is why we say it is very, very critical for us to work with men. Because in communities where women have succeeded in taking up leadership positions in their communities, it is because the men have supported them. Because the men have understood that nobody is threatening your position as a man. Nobody is trying to wrestle power from you. Nobody is trying to wear the trousers in your house. You are the only one wearing the trousers. So when the men have come to that understanding, that realization, they now say, okay, we support you. You go. And even in politics, some women that have progressed in politics or been successful in politics. I remember one time some years ago when we were talking to women politicians, and there was a very successful woman politician and we're asking her, how come you are so successful? Because anytime a woman comes out to vie for any position, it's PhD, pull her down syndrome. People start remembering the things she has done, the people she has slept with, her lifestyle. That's what is on the table. It is not what she can bring to bear. So the woman said, oh, actually, my husband is in full support of me. For instance, if my political party is having a meeting late at night, my husband drives me to that meeting because he knows I'm going to that meeting. So he drives me there. But even as he has driven me there, you'll be surprised. It is the women that will start generating the gossip that, oh, this one, instead of her to be at home midnight, she is in the company of men, not knowing that it's her husband that drove. But the man is an empowered and liberated man. The man is comfortable in his skin. He knows that he knows his wife, and he knows that she has something upstairs, and he wants her to share what she has for the betterment of the society. And so he was in full support. So it is very, very critical that we have men as our allies, that we work with men who understand that it is not about equality of power. It is not muscle. It is not to say, okay, me, I can box you, you can box me, I can box, so we can fight. No, that is not what it is.
Let me say, we have a clinical psychologist that comes on the show. She's called Aku Hefro. And every time, because it's late night, her husband will always drive her here. So I'll say congratulations to Mr. Hefro.
He's a good ally.
He's an ally. He's a good
always
ally.
drive the wife here, sit quietly and wait for the wife to finish the show, and then he takes him back.
We need more men
like that.
But
Yes.
on the role of influence of women, I come from Akwamu, and the Akwamu Hima is Nana Frakoma II. Now, she's not a university degree holder or any certificate holder, but she commands so much power that even we, the men, I mean, if we are bending protocol, we have to do it on a blind side, because you dare not go to her if you have bent protocol, because she will not. If it's A, it has to be A. You can never skip A and go to B, and she will allow it. And we always, Afrakuma. So, I mean, as I'm listening to you, that's how much influence I think women can get, regardless of their PhDs or their, masters and everything they can get. However, you pointed out something to say that sometimes it's the same woman who turn around and start bickering. So how are women receiving this message that, listen, you can be part of the security?
The first thing I want to say is that, the issue of it is the same women that will turn around to bicker other women.
Because I know women who say, agenda,
yes.
please.
No, the way I always like to respond to things like that is that, let us not forget first and foremost that we are first of all human beings before we are female or male gender. And so, like you used to say, when men argue, they say they are, or when men fight, they say they are arguing. When women fight, they say they are aggressive. So, but whatever the woman does is couched in a negative connotation, is given another name. The same thing that the man will do, and it is nicely, they are sharing ideas, they are just arguing. But for the woman, no, she's aggressive. Why? Because of that same role, that same gender role that we have put women, that same box that we have put them, that they are not supposed to raise their voice. When in a meeting last year with women parliamentarians, and one man in the audience asked a question. Was it a question, sir? He said he was making his comment, and he said, Madam, all these things people are saying about women in leadership is very good. But I want to say that the women in politics, they should, the way they carry themselves, they should carry themselves so that other people will emulate them. So that when you see that the way they dress, the way he was even twisting his face, was talking. So when he finished, I said, oh, your advice is very well received and it's very welcome. But what do we say about the men in leadership? Are they not supposed to be role models also? Are we limiting the role model to only women? So a man who is in politics or a politician, it's okay for him to fight, to be abusive, to do whatever, and get away with it because he's a man. And why are you focusing on the woman's physical? Why are you focusing on the way she's dressing? Why even not talk about the way the man too dresses? It is not the dressing. They are not going there for a dressing competition. They are going there for intellectual competition. So you have to think about what has the woman offered in parliament? What is her contribution? What has she been able to achieve? How has she been leading her other women? What's the example you should be talking about? It is not the example of, they shouldn't be talking to men like that. You see them, they'll be talking to men like that and be doing their hands like that, like this. But the man can talk to a woman and do his hands, and it is all right. If we continue, and that man is supposed to be an educated man, but because he has over years, he has been socialized like that, that a woman should not be talking when a man is talking. So that is why the women themselves have a bigger role to play. The women should forget about this idea that women are their own worst enemies. Some of the time, the lie is peddled by men because they try to use it to divide the women. So they tell you that when you quarrel, you are your own worst enemy. And I say, men don't quarrel. They quarrel, they finish quarrel, and they laugh, they hit their hands, and they move on. But when women quarrel, women can't stand each other. When there's a position for a woman to fill, who is the person that is bringing division among even the other women, saying, are you going to vote for this woman? Don't vote for her, she's like this. It is the men. When you research, it is the men that use them. So women should not be allowing themselves to be used. They should not be allowing themselves to be used to destroy their fellow women. Because the only way that we can make it is by all of us working together towards a common goal.
Bijou,
yes.
Traditional role, queen mothers in particular, are they involved, and how are you using them, and how are they receiving it?
Yes, we work a lot with traditional rulers, queen mothers. We work with them because we know their influence in the circle in which they are. I think somewhere last year when the queen mothers in Ghana met towards the election, yes, I was there, and then I gave them examples of what traditional leaders, women, did in Côte d'Ivoire, how they've been able to come together and encourage their community, and even they intervene in mediation, and then they also strengthen the capacity of young women and young men in their various communities, and they have been like watchdogs over their various community. We work with them, we build their capacity, and of course, because we know that they're influential, we want them to use that influence and then have an impact on what is happening in their community. They are leaders, so we cannot leave them out. And they are one of our champions. I will call them our icons as leaders. Because in the community, as you said, I think in one of your examples, you cannot bend the rule. She has influence so much. So exactly.
It puts you straight in your corner.
Exactly. So we are able to capitalize.
Somebody watching is going to say, "Nana telling that one Afra Kuma." You know, I mean, she's a very nice lady, but
yes. Exactly. She has influence and she knows her role. She knows her responsibility. So she's able to exert it, and she's having an impact and contributing towards peace and security in her community. We work a lot with them. We do not leave them behind. They are always with us.
But is it difficult? I mean, this mission, is it difficult? I say that because of how we have been socialized, you know, we are brought to that this is normal. So if somebody is now 50, 40 years and you're coming to tell the person, no, it's not normal. I mean, hold on. I've been grown up like that, went to school like that, Sunday school, mosque, everywhere I've been told it's fine. And then all of a sudden, Queeneth comes, forms a little gathering and say, oh no, forget all that you've learned from day one. Now, this is how we're going to go forward.
You know, it's interesting. Education and sensitization are powerful tools, because when you get into places when you think the women really don't know anything and they are used to being in the box, when you are able to use they themselves to bring out the things you have been doing all the time in that box. This is exactly what you are doing. And they find out that, oh, it is actually contributing. They start getting empowered and their eyes start getting open. And they feel very, very happy about it. Of course, it is difficult because some of them find it very difficult to let go. You have been socialized over years. And out of the blue, I remember in one of our sessions when out of the blue, one woman felt so empowered and she said, I'm going back to my country in Sierra Leone and I'm buying condoms because I have 7 children for this man and he will not listen to me that I don't want any children. Now that you have empowered me, I have a voice. I'm buying the condom myself and I'm going to stop this. Same, another woman will say, another woman said, no, after hearing this, when I go home, I don't even know how I'm going to talk to my husband. I'm even afraid. So you have, but fortunately, those who easily understand it are much more than they that are so difficult to grasp it. But as time goes on, we are gaining more grounds because you see that at the community level, you see more leaders emerging. You see more women coming together as watchdogs. You see women coming together and watching over their young girls, watching over their boys. And you will see that it's yielding. It's difficult, but it's yielding. I have to be very honest.
Gwyneth, you see, you see, this practice of women being sidelined, I always say it's foreign, even though now it's become our culture. It's very foreign because before we adapted the foreign culture, if you married Akosia Sewa, she's Akosia Sewa, she didn't even have to take your name. It's when there's Mrs. and housewife and housewife and all these things, we have all inherited all these things. So now it has become part of us. Are we going down to like the school level and get the teachers involved so that gradually the class is sensitized to say, look, Paul and Amy, you can all do it the same thing. Because if you wait for them to graduate and come, it becomes a whole challenge.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we are. Under our peace education program, we work with schools in all the ECOWAS member states, where WANEP is in 15 ECOWAS member states, so we are in all the countries in the region. So we work with school children under the peace education program. We have the peer club, mediation club, where the children belong, and all this, and some teachers are also part of it. And we didn't just start with the children themselves, we actually started with the educational administrators themselves, right from the top, before it trickled down to the school, because you have to get the commitment of those in authority before you can do anything in their schools. So these issues are being discussed at that level. So under the peace education curriculum, things like that are coming up. But as you say, Rome was not built in a day. So we are not expecting that, in one day we are going to clear all these things and everything will be El Dorado. But I think somehow, from my own experiences also, what I've seen, this socialization issues is very, very serious. Sometimes I ask myself, is it that people were really born like that? I have heard children, I've heard a girl say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a secretary. And I said, why? He said, it's girls that are secretaries now. I said, so boys cannot be secretaries. He said, oh, no, boys are managers. And this was a very small child that has not even gone anywhere. Who taught her that girls are supposed to be only secretaries? And I'm talking about this millennium. I'm not talking about donkey years ago. So you still see that some of these things, even when we feel there's enlightenment, that we are empowering our children, somehow these things are still in their head. So it takes a long time but there is hope, and we're also making progress. We're making a lot of progress. Women are now aspiring to read courses that used to be traditionally men courses. Women are reading it, and they are making it in those courses, in those areas.
Bijou, that's what I was coming to. My next question was, in preaching to these women, are there some women who have done, broken the glass ceiling or done some achievement which you can point out that, look at this woman. She's alive. She did this. She attained this height. She's helping her or impacting her society. so that the people who are listening can see that, well, I'm not the one going to try. Indeed, somebody's done it before, and therefore I can trail her path.
Yes, of course, we have icons. We have notable women who have been able to break the glass, the ceiling glass, despite all the challenges. It has been a long struggle, but we are having a lot of impact. Women were not recognized for what they were doing. But now you will see that we are having names. Gone are those days when you will say, we are looking for women with expertise in this, and then you do not. It's very difficult to find them. Let me be very basic and even talk about the peace building field. When we started, there were not many women in this field. But now you can readily look for a woman who has expertise in peace building, who has expertise in women, peace and security, very easily. They have been able to break that glass, and they are there. There are women at the peace table. There are women at decision-making tables. One of our women that we raised is Lema Bowie, who won the Nobel Prize. That's how many years ago? She was with ONEP. She worked with ONEP. She broke the ceiling, and she has been well known for what she has done. This is not only at the high level that you will see women who have been able to break down barriers and make known that women are capable and they are able to do things. In various countries, we have women in the corporate world that have broken that ceiling glass, and they have made names for themselves, and the impact of their work is so clear. In Ghana, we have women. The other time in the office, I was talking about Victoria Hammer, and some people were like, oh, but she was not able to, she's not a leader. I said, but she was a leader in her own sphere. So she has been able to break, and she's young, and she was given a portfolio that not many young women have been able to take. And she made a mistake that a man would have made and gone scot-free. But because she was a woman, she couldn't go scot-free. She had to pay for it. And in a way, she's a leader, and she has been able to make it. You take Ursula, for instance. She's one of our icons who is doing so well, who has broken the glass, and we believe that she's mentoring others who will also follow her. In various countries, in West Africa, many women have emerged, and in their societies, they are making a lot of impact.
Ghana compared to the other countries in the sub-region, are we better than them, or are they better than us?
In
terms of opportunities for women, or
I think the whole West African region, the way I'll put it is that they have a common thread running through, which is this issue of patriarchy. It runs through, in fact, not even only the West African region, but that is a very, very, very serious challenge that we have. But we have communities that are matrilineal. We have communities that are strictly patrilineal. Even in Nigeria, we have some communities that are matrilineal, in the sense that, okay, the women have a little bit more, they are recognized in a way better than others. Ghana have communities that are matrilineal, isn't it? So the women have more opportunities.
Most Ghanaian, I think the Ghans, the Airways, part of the north are patrilineal, but the Akans are mainly matrilineal. Yeah.
So in matrilineal societies, you see the position of women is a little.
That's why Nana Frakuma rules the
Yes,
West,
yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's places like that. But majority of our communities are really patrilineal. And so, in terms of saying how women have fared in comparison Ghana and other countries, I don't think there's really too much difference. Much of a difference. It's just that a lot of the countries are also getting aware of the role that women can play.
For instance, like in the formative years, there seem to be more girls in the school, even though as we go further, they drop off. But in the formative years, there's lots of girls. I mean, in the other countries, are they having the same issue where they also have more girls? Because once upon a time, there were more boys in school than girls. But now, the girls seem to start. But
Yes, they are. We are having that where more girls, but in closed societies, in don't know how to put it. In societies where, we still have societies where girls don't go to school or not allowed to go to school. In those close societies, they don't go to school. And even in some countries now also, the problem is boys dropping out of schools. So we have that's why gender is important. So where one gender is at its advantage, we work on that to bring it back. Where the other one is at an advantage, we bring up the other one to. But generally, more girls are in schools these days. More girls are going to school. And more girls are also reading sciences, because that used to be a problem before. Before, they say girls cannot read science, girls cannot read mathematics, girls cannot do engineering, girls cannot do this kind of technical things that boys do. But over time, it's changing. So a lot of girls are.
One of the most dangerous security threats in Ghana, and that's per my analysis, is an uneducated girl. I think that's one of our most dangerous security threats, because the chances are their children are not going to go to school. And then they end up on the street. 13, 14, as we see them today, is fine. But in 30 years' time, they'll be 43. And would they still be willing to sell PK? And if not, what would they be doing? So how much of this education or this security aspect is drawn towards this impending time bomb?
I think the campaign on educating our girls is very, very important. I remember in last year, December, I was in Seshiria, so in one municipality, when we started a campaign on saving our girls. Because in the community in which I was, the trend was girls were dropping out of school, girls were being victimized in school by teachers, and then they were having a lot of peer pressure as well. And then the scholarship which was available was geared towards more boys than the girls. And then the girls are being raised by single mothers. So along the way, the girls drop out of school. I think it is very important that we continue with the campaign of putting our girls through school. Not only putting them through school, but sustaining it. It's not enough for the girl to go to primary school and then drop out. That is not going to school, that's not sufficient. So we should be able to sustain our campaign of the girl education. Because when we are talking about participation, we need to start preparing the girls. When we are talking about 50-50, it has to start from our institutions. When we are able to, that's why I appreciated when you talked about what are we doing about our institutions in terms of this whole equality debate we are having, discourse we are having. It is very important that we carry the campaign into our schools. And it's very important that we involve the school authorities in this. Because in some of the schools, when the girl drops out, the girl is pregnant. And then when she comes back, the stigmatization. Of course, the school authorities also do not help. And then the community in which the girl is also does not help. It is very worrying, as you said, that when that girl is 43, we should be willing to say PK. That girl can, if something happened, that girl who has turned into a woman can easily be recruited to do things that we don't want to think about and talk about. Those girls who drop, if there's anything happening, they are ripe to be recruited. If not even recruited in Ghana, they can be recruited for outside Ghana to do the unthinkable with all these new threats that are emerging in our sub-region. So it is very important that we continue and sustain the campaign of getting our girls to school.
Well, let me continue my book. It says the aim of WIPNET is to build the capacity of women to enhance their roles in peacekeeping and post-conflict reconstruction in West Africa. The program is dedicated to provide space and platform for women active participation in leadership in peace and conflict prevention at all levels alongside men. More significantly, WIPNET seeks to increase the number of trained women practitioners in peace building as trainers, researchers, mediators, and advocates through community mobilization and other innovative platforms. Witness strives to provide a forum for women at the grassroots to amplify their voices on issues of peace and human security, mainstreaming gender perspective into peace building and conflict prevention framework is also promoted at community, national, and regional levels. So it's called Strides and Strains. So is it for sale though?
Yes.
And where can one get one to buy?
In OneUp office.
In the OneUp office?
Yes.
Okay.
We have OneUp
So you
office.
can get, do you know the number offhand? The OneUp
number.
OneUp number offhand. Well, we'll put the number on the screen for you.
On the screen.
In fact, it's even there.
No, I can't see the number here. But obviously go online. Yeah, go definitely.
Yes.
Go online.
Yeah, just go online and get the www.oneup.org and get the book. It looks like a very nice read. Thank you very much, ladies.
You most welcome.
I've enjoyed the conversation. And the number I give you always before I leave for Tantis Fashions, who make my shirt, 024 366 2001. 024 366 2001. There's a huge discount going, and your password is either Nana or PM Express. You don't want to miss out on that. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much for watching. Ladies, thank you once again.
You most welcome.